Gracious Lord. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to this live broadcast. How are you doing? I'm sorry we couldn't come live in the afternoon as usual. We had to move this session to 6 p.m. this evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Skill Up Show. Is this your first time in the show? Please let me see you in the comments if you're joining me live on this show for the first time. Let me see you in the comments. If you are catching the replay of the show, let me see you in the comments. And if you are just visiting our YouTube channel for the first time, please let me see you in the comments. Yes, let me see you in the comments. And why don't you go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel already. Sorry, we're not bringing this live on Facebook as we would on as usual, but we had challenges and we were hoping we'll be able to fix that so that we'll go live both on Facebook and on YouTube, but that didn't happen. And so we have to do this just on YouTube. We will share the link on Facebook for all our Facebook lovers, right? We'll share the link, but I would still try. I'll probably just try even while this stream is going on. Yes, the Skill Up Show is that show where we come and we give you tips on how to parent and how to support your young children and your preteens. Yes, I am the preteen matron. I am concerned about your preteen because I understand that there is a lot that can be savaged. There is a lot that can be fixed. There is a lot of unlearning that can happen at this stage. A lot of learning that can also happen at this stage of your child's life. Why is that? Because the first 6 years of your child's life are very critical times in the life of the child. These are really very important times in the life of the child's life, in the child's life, really. And so, because many times as parents, we are still, trying to get, understand parenting. We're still trying to get our feet on the ground. Some of us do not even understand what parenting is about yet. By the time we have our children, in the first 3, 4, 5 years of their lives. So before you know it, your child is 5, your child is 6, and there you are just finding out that one of the most crucial part of their life or phase in their life had just passed, and you didn't do much with it because you didn't know any better. Hey, so that is why we decided, something, why don't we help parents through this second phase of the children's life so that a lot of the things that we have missed in the first phase of their lives for 6 years, 7 years of their life, we can begin to nip in the bud, or we can begin to fix immediately, or we can begin to help the children unlearn and replace them with new learned knowledge and skills. Because at this stage, it's actually easier. Okay, yes, it may not be as often as it may not be as natural. The learning may not be as natural and as easy as it would have been in the first 6 years of their lives. But hey, there is so much that we can do a lot, okay, during this phase before they become before they become teenagers, right? Before adolescent kicks in, there is a lot that we can fix. There is a lot that we can correct. Okay, so that's why we are very big on this phase of their lives. Okay, when they're young children, twins, during their twins, they are pre-twins, they are twins, and then they are pre-teens. Okay, we're very, very, very big on this phase of their lives. So yes, you have a child that is between 6 and 14. These are the children that we're talking about in this show. And I always like to add that you don't necessarily have to have a child that is just this age. You can have a child that is younger, and you start learning about this phase of their life so that by the time your children get here, you are good, you are pretty, you have the right arsenal, you have the right tools and strategies to support them by the time they are getting here. So you can plan ahead. And yes, some people even have teenagers that have gone through this first phase and even this second phase of their lives, and all of the gaps and all of the, all of the gaps are present. Your teenager is already struggling, or you're already struggling with your teenagers. What we're teaching you in the Skill Up Show will come in handy, will still come in handy even for your teenagers. And so that's why we are big on this show, and we try our best, even when all odds are against us, we try our best to still come up here so that you can get the benefits of the weekly Skill Up Show. So welcome to the Skill Up Show. What am I talking about today? I'm talking about how you can use your family values as a standard for setting boundaries in with your children. Okay, I've been talking about setting boundaries for the whole of July. So it's been a series. We've talked about boundaries, their personal boundaries that the children set, when it has to do with themselves, their bodies, and all of that. We talked about boundaries that they can set with their friends. We talked about boundaries that they can set when it comes to their academics. If you want them, their academics, their learning, you want them to be on point and be able to direct themselves, through learning and all of that. What can the children learn, right? What can they learn that they can apply to help them have the discipline that they need, right? The discipline that they need when it comes to their schoolwork, their academics, and all of that. We talked about that last week. So today, let's cap it up. Let's round off the month of July by talking about the boundaries. Helping using our family values, right, to help our children understand discipline and understand setting boundaries. Now, the our family values are huge. I hope by now, if you're on this stream, you understand why you need a set of family values. If you're on this stream, I hope you understand that as a family, your family values should be one of the foundational things that you should have. Apart from that, as a parent who wants to parent in peace, I promise you, if you can key into identifying what you value as a family, what you stand for as a family, if you can stop and think about it, have conversations about these things, and begin to apply it in your everyday life and help your children know these things, and not just know these things, you help your children understand the why behind your values. I promise you, it's one of the easiest things that you can do to have a peaceful relationship between yourself and your children, especially at the point where adolescence begins to creep in at that stage, and then when they become teenagers and young adults. So by the time you get it right, when they are toddlers, right? You get it right as toddlers, and then you get to their preteens. Because of all that they already know, all that you understand, because you are in sync already, you find yourself in this harmonious relationship with your adolescent child, with your preteens. And then this relationship, that's the thing about relationship, it grows. That's the thing about relationship. If you get it right, it means that you have opened a channel of communication. And the moment you get it right from the beginning and that channel has been established, it means that you have a pathway that you can continue to communicate and understand yourself. And communication is the bedrock of, the bedrock of a good relationship. If you can get your communication, if you can get communication between you and another person right, be it your husband, your wife, your children, your employees, employers, the moment you can get a line of communication open that allows you respect each other, understand each other's perspective, allows you to calm down enough and be patient enough to understand each other's perspective, and you're able to reason out those perspectives together, and you can do this continuously, you will realize that you have a peaceful relationship. And I don't know, as a parent, if going for a peaceful relationship is not a goal for you, what else is a goal for you? Because what else is a goal for you if it's not to go on to have a peaceful relationship with your children? For me, a peaceful relationship trumps a lot of things as far as the home is concerned. Why that? Why do I say this? See, the energy in your home is what creates the stability in your home. Let me take that again. The energy in your home is what creates stability in your home. So if you have a home where there is constant strife, there is constant strife and bickering, and everybody is trying to be right, everybody is trying to argue their way out and all that. When you realize it, what that does is it takes away from the energy in your home. The moment it takes away that energy, even when you get things right or you sort things out, you realize that there is there is there is a tension, right? There is a tension in the environment when you allow every argument or every conflict you have get to that level where you have to argue your way out or someone has to be right. So, but when you have a good communication, pathway, or when you have created that line of communication and you do it early, it means that you establish a pattern for resolving the conflict in your home. And if that pattern is understood early by your children and that pattern is allowed to grow, you would have that peaceful thing that you're looking for. Does peace in your home mean that everybody agrees every time? No, it doesn't necessarily have to. You don't have to agree every time, but you know how to plead your case, or you know how to, how to plead your case, or you know how to state your case and be listened to and have people, and you also listen to people. And this is the kind of relationship you want to have with your children. This is the kind of life. This is what you want to teach your child. Really, this is what you want to teach your child. This is the way you want to teach your child to handle relationships and handle even their collaborations, their partnerships, and everything that they do. All right. Good. So this is what we're talking about, and that's what I'm going to be talking to you about in the next 20 minutes. Now, the Skill Up Show is a really very short show. It's not a very long show. It's a short show. As I said, it's a show where we just bring you tips, in a particular area that you can apply in your parenting for that week. Do it consistently. Apply it in your parenting for that week. Do it consistently in the next 7 days, and you will begin to see results. These tips that we give you can never be enough, okay? In parenting, we need a support system. In parenting, we need collaborators. In parenting, we need knowledge. In parenting, we need a solid support system. Don't trade that for anything. But when it was said that parenting, you need a village to parent, it's so right. It is so right. Our parents said it, okay, and we laughed at it. But the truth is, that saying is such it's very right. We actually need a village to parent. You actually need a village to parent. You can't parent that child alone. Never. It's not going to happen. You can't be there every time. You're not the only person in the child's life. For one, when you drop them in school, hope you know the school is part of your village. So you see, you can't even parent them alone. When you drop them with the nannies, these people are part of your village, isn't it? When you drop them with your sister, your friend, at that point where you have to attend a meeting or something, these people are part of your village. And then when you bring in experts or people who are professionals in this field, it means that you are taking it to the next level. When you bring in mentors to support your children, these are all part of your village. So, dear parents, if you are here and you don't understand the importance of a support system or of a village parenting with you, I beg you, sit down and look around you and begin to figure out the people around you that can be a part of your village that will help you or will support you to parent your children. All right, very, 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 very key. I've told this story, many times, right? I've told the story many times of how, I was even at a conference recently and I was telling the story again, because this story was, it was when I started going through my journey. I wish I could get someone to stagnate, put this thing in one place. All right, when I was going through my journey down my memory lane, I was going through how I was parented. At some point in my parenting journey, I had to stop and go through where I was coming from, like how I was parented. How did I get there? What did my parent do right? What is it that my parent did that at the time I didn't think was right? Okay, or what did they do that, I mean, if I can borrow from, or I can change, or I can learn from, would help my own parents. And I had to go through that journey. How was I parented? In what ways was I parented well? In what ways was I parented wrongly? I went through that journey. During the course of going through that journey, I found a couple of things that happened in my life, a couple of experiences that happened in my life that formed some of the things that I am today, that informed some of the choices that I made in my life, that informed some part of who I am. And one of it is my relationship with this friend that I had when I was about 6 or 7. Okay, I've told this story many times. How this child didn't have anyone who wanted to be her friend. I'm sure if you asked her, I mean, God rest her soul, she's passed on. I'm sure if you asked her at the time who her friends were, she probably would just name me and my dad as her friends, because as her friends, yeah, because very few people. Sorry, can you just give me a second? Let me put this fan on, please. I'm really sweating. Sorry, 1 second. So sorry about that. All right. So I'm sure if you ask this child at the time, she was only 7. She was a year older than I was at the time. She was smaller, and all of that. But I'm sure if you asked her at that time, she'll probably name just me and my dad. All right. She was my friend, and I would play with her. We lived around the same neighborhood, I'll play with her, and my dad would stop by, when he comes back from work. So my dad would stop by and ask how we're doing, gist with us. He would laugh with us and all that, and he'd go in. So there are days he will come in, and I'm at home, and the first thing he will ask me is, he even had a pet name for her. Okay, he even had a pet name for her, and when he comes in and I'm not with her, times that he sees me and she's not there, he would ask me, "How is my key?" And I'm like, "Oh, I have not seen her today, or she's this, or she went somewhere, or something like that." What was my father doing? I guess at the time, my father could see that this child was lonely. He could see that no one wanted to be this child's friend, and he liked the fact that I was being her friend. So in a way, my father wanted to validate that relationship, or he wanted to encourage me to keep that relationship. And so when he didn't see me with her, he would go the length to, ask after her and all of that. He never said at some point, "Oh, you see, this girl is like this, I want you to be her friend." No, that conversation never came up. I guess in his head, these are children. I am saying these things today. Back then, when I was younger, I didn't even stop to think about it. Like, seriously, why is everybody not being her friend? I didn't think I was really a special person choosing to be her friend. I just knew she was my neighbor, she was my friend, we blended, and that was all that mattered. I didn't need to judge her for any reason. I know those times she will come home and my mom will be giving me, my mom and my sisters will eye me like, those times. So they will always say, when she comes around and she's in the house, let's say we're watching TV in the living room. I remember I was young, but I remember we're watching TV in the living room. They would say to go outside and play. So every time I came home with her, they always told us to go out and play. So we come in and we're sitting, in the living room on the sofa, and they would say, "Mary, you and your friend go out and play." So it was always go out and play, go out and play. So it was only as I grew older that I realized, okay, they didn't want, I told that story. I said she had a health challenge, right? My friend had a health challenge that every time she was under pressure, she would wee on herself. Okay, every time, I think I should stop and do a research on what that was. Okay, she would actually wee on herself every time she was under some sort of pressure. So because of that, there was this, permanent stench, around when she was around, and she could actually be in your house and be under pressure. And before you know it, while she's trying to run to the bathroom, there will be a trail of, wee as she, tries to go there. So many parents in the neighborhood didn't want her in their house because it simply means they had to start cleaning, and all of that. So it was later that I would come to, put 2 and 2 to understand all of these things. But back then it was just, I wanted to play, I was just playing with my friend, and nothing mattered. But hey, my dad could see beyond, me, the child, and understood how lonely this child must feel. And that was his way of, authenticating that relationship, or that was his way of encouraging me to be in that relationship and all of that. So he would stop and he would play with us and all that. At some point, yes, I started realizing others didn't want to be her friend. I knew she had this, but it didn't come in the way of our friendship and all of that. Now, why am I telling you the story? Okay, some of the things that are our values, right, as people, as parents and all of that, some of our values do not necessarily have to be things that we have to, even if I'll come to us, documenting our values. But our values, more than what we document, our values is what shows in our everyday life. Okay, what we do as people, what we do as people, what we do as a family, what is acceptable in our home, what is acceptable in our environment, what we show our children, what they see us do every day, how we treat people, how we talk to people, how we react during situations, how we handle the situations that come up and events in our lives. This, more than any other thing, will show our children what we stand for and what our core values really are. So yesterday, we, on our way from church, I don't know what brought the conversation. I can't remember what brought the conversation about Big Brother. All right, so we were in the car, and oh my goodness, I would like to remember what brought this conversation. I know we're passing in front of DSTV, and there were the posters of Big Brother. I understand Big Brother. There's a Big Brother of. I see it online everywhere. So yes, there's a Big Brother. There are people in the house right now, the Big Brother Africa house and all of that, So I don't know, I said something. I know it started with me. Okay, I said something about Big Brother. It was the entire family in the car. I said something about Big Brother, and then my husband went something like, there are many people that have gone through that platform and all of that, of all of them, Ebuka, the host, the one that the host, Ebuka came out, and he didn't have to do a lot of the things that these people were doing and all of that. And my children were lost. So they were asking me, they were trying to understand what the conversation was about and all of that. So I was like, the values of that program, basically, I was saying, the value, I don't know, I can't remember how that conversation went, but basically I was saying the values of that program is such that it allows this, and this. And my husband was saying, not necessarily, because there are people who have gone in there and they didn't have to do this, and this. And I was of the opinion that, it's possible that one candidate, or how do they call them, housemates, it's possible that one housemate comes in and decide to do differently. But what is to note is the fact that the program on its own has this as part of its value, basically. So if you go in there, for instance, nudity is part of the core of that program, isn't it? So that's why if you come in there and you decide to be all butt naked and everything, nobody is going to send you out of the house. Why is that? Because this is part of what the program is about, and this is what it stands for. However, if you go into that program and you have a fight with someone and you get physical and you hit the person, you are going to be evicted out of the house, isn't it? So you'll be evicted out of the house, and that is what? Because violence, right? Violence, physical violence and assault is not part of the system or the core value of that program. So, we're trying to, express this, and our son burning in and said, I get you, mommy. It simply means if you do not hold these values, for instance, you do not agree. He's never watched Big Brother Africa. He doesn't know what it is about. He knows that there's something like that. His classmates talk about it and he hears it here and there, but he's never watched Big Brother, so he doesn't know the ideology, doesn't know what it stands for, he doesn't know what it's about. But hey, we're having a conversation and giving him, an insight on what it is. And then he says, it's simple. It means that if you do not share the value of this program, if you do not stand for what the program stands for, then that can be a platform that you hope to use for any reason. He said, as it is, it's probably a platform that people use. I told him people use the platform for visibility. Yes, I think we started with business and visibility and all of that. That's where it started from. Okay, so people use this program as a platform for visibility to become more visible so that they reach more people. We started with Hilda Basi. I can remember we were talking about Hilda's course and how Hilda is doing the course, and she has how many people who have registered. We have these conversations with our children. We have these conversations as a family every now and then. Okay, and we were talking about visibility, and this conversations, they spring up. Why do they spring up? They spring up because anything that is our core value or anything that is part of our value, what we do is we pick teachable opportunities. We identify teachable moments. The moment we are doing something else and a teachable moment comes to buttress that, that value, we take it and we run with it. So that's what happened. Okay, and that's how we got to this conversation. But I was glad that our 13-year-old son could get the insights that I wanted him. I mean, the insight of my perspective, in that conversation. The truth is, if this does not stand as part of your value, then you do not have a business with that platform. It simply means that that platform is not for you. However, there is somebody somewhere there that the values in that platform doesn't go against their personal value. So yes, this person can be on that platform, even if the person decides to be different from other people. But hey, the person still shares the ideology and shares the value behind that platform, if you understand what I'm talking about. And this is a good example for us to, use and step into this conversation that we're having today. What are your core values? Okay, what are your core values? As a family, you need to understand what your core values are. Meaning, what are the things that you stand for as a family? What are your vision as a family? What are the things that are the standard for what is right and what is wrong for you as a family? What are the standards that have been taught through? You have identified these standards, you have taught them through, and you have sat down as a family to x-rays, okay, to the point that everyone in the family now understands it. So husband, wife, partners, parents, this is one of the first things you want to do, okay, as soon as you begin a family. Okay, it's one of the first things you want to do. Okay, you don't have your set of family values and you have a big family. I mean, you have a family already. It's never too late. As they say, the day you wake up is your morning, isn't it? Okay, so this is a good place to actually sit and start from. Okay, talk with your spouse, talk to your spouse. What are the things that you stand for if you don't know already? But hey, another thing you want to do with values is you don't want to assume, all right, especially at the point where you're trying to create them. Sit down as a family, sit down with your spouse if you have very little children. But if your children are reasonably, I mean, if they're grown up, your children are 8 and 9, if you're even your 6-year-old will be able to understand this, okay, and contribute to this conversation. Even our daughter had something to say yesterday when we were having this conversation. Okay, so sit down and look at it. What are the things that you hold there? What are those things where you spend your time and your money? Okay, the things where you spend your time and your money freely, okay, constitute part of what your values are. Okay, the thing that you will give your time to, the thing that you will give your money to, constitutes part of what you stand for. The things that are the standard for you, the things that are your essence, these are part of what your core value is rooted in these things. So sit down as a family. The father write a list. You can come up as a family and say, okay, let's all write 10 things. Each of us write 10 things that are most important. 10 things for us that are our essence. Your essence is, what is your life about? What are those things that matter to you as a person? What are those things that sits in the core of your existence? How else can I say it? What are those things that speak of your mission as a person? What you are in this life, what are those things that matter to you? Write them down. When you write them down, I promise you, by the time you look through it, that's your husband, right? That's your wife, right? You decided to you decided to marry this person for a reason. I'm sure you will find certain things that you have that you share in common. Okay, let your children also write these things down. Sit down as a family and streamline them. Streamline them to the point where you have a number of them. They could be 3, they could be 5, they could be 10. Okay, but what you want to do is you want to burst. So what you find that you see many things, different things that are about the same, they sound the same, they entail about the same thing. So what you want to do is you want to now work on them to fine tune them so that you can reduce it to about 3, 5, or 10 of them. And this 10 things will form what your core values are. Who is on this stream? Would you want me to actually show you something practical? I could show you an old value board that we have, if that could help. It's just that I don't know if I can get someone to help me right now. Okay, because I really want you to understand what we're talking about here. Okay, anyway, if you're on the stream and you want me to do that, just let me know if you want me to do that. But in the meantime, I want to believe that you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, basically just look at that thing that is your core. Okay, then write it down, then streamline it. When you streamline it, you would realize by the time you sit down and you talk about it, you read through it as a family, you realize it will capture, it will capture what each of you is trying to talk about. Okay, some of the things you could have there is you could actually have educate. Yes, you can do that. All right, let me see, just give me a second, let me call out. Fancy! Who is that? I need someone to get it. I'm in my study and I'm alone here. Who is that? I can't seem to get anyone. No. 1 second. Who is here? Who is here? Who is in this house? All right, I'm sorry I had to do this, but I had to do what I had to do, right? Because please, I would like to. All right, so I have this. So now this is an old board, right? Values. So let me read through, part of it for you. So now the number one thing on this value board is God is the essence of our life and being. God, in God we trust. So basically, for everyone in that home, God is at the center of everything. So this is the number one thing. This is your number one core, that God is at the center of everything. So your children know this. You know this. Your spouse knows this. Everybody knows this. The next one is family comes first over everything else. Family comes first over everything else. So you know this. This is established and all of that. You have written it in that document. I'll give you 2 more. The other one is education, purpose, impact, and community service. Education, purpose, impact, and community service. You've bunched this as one of your core. So I'll give you a last one. We are lifelong learners. So you have these 4 things. Okay, so as I said, it could be 10 for you. You are lifelong learners as one of your core values. So what does it mean? It means that every child that is born in that home knows that learning is a core thing. So when your child is born into that home, your child will know books. This library here belongs to my children. This library is my children's library. So your children will know books the day they come into that home. Why? Because lifelong learning is core for you. So lifelong learning is core. So this is a book that my son, so he was just telling me today, my 13-year-old son was just telling me today that he has just finished his 3rd. So in the month of July, right? He told me he has just finished his 3rd book and he was about to finish his 4th book for the month, right? Because he has decided he's been reading. I'll tell you. He's read this. He's read this. He's read this. He's reading this, right? And he's read the books that so he has this close by because these are the books that he's reading. So he's read Spiritually Intelligent Teenager. He's read The Secret and Power for Teenager. He's reading The Art of Science of Dominating, of Territorial Domination. Now he's 13 and I didn't pick these books for him. This is my book. It's from my library. He forced me to buy him this. This is one of the books of the month that we read. This is the book they read in the Mastermind Circle, where he is a peer he's a peer mentor. He's a peer mentor at the Mastermind Circle. And then he's reading his fourth book. Now, why is he reading this much, or why does he read this much, or why is reading not a problem for him? Because from the word go, lifelong learning is core for us. So he sees us read. He sees us read every time. So I'm reading this, Bringing Up Boys. I am reading this. I'm reading this, Financial Peace. I'm reading this. Where's my third book? I'm reading this. So these are the books that I read in this month of July. So because of that, he knows that this is core for us. So because this is core, everybody, lifelong learning, part of lifelong learning is you need to be able to read. You need to be able to seek knowledge. So we're constantly seeking knowledge. We're constantly reading books. We're constantly doing all of that. So this is you living your core, and your children can see your core values, in the life that you live. What else? You said one of your core values is service. So it's service to humanity, service to mankind, and all of that is one of your core values. So as we speak, our both children are actually doing internship programs. So our son is working as network. So our son is working at a barber shop this holiday. So he reports to work. He makes sure that all the towels, all the things that they need in the barber shop is okay and all of that. And he resumes to work. So he's watching, he's trying to learn how to barb hair. But he's not paying to do that because he is in the barber shop to be of service. So while he's there, he sweeps the barber shop, he takes care of the towels, he hands the towels to the barbers. When they finish barbing, he cleans the place, he sweeps the place, and all of that. Why is that? Because service is a core for us. Because service is a core for us. So when you have your core values, your 4 core values will inform the things that you do as a family. And it will be seen in your everyday life. This is what it means to be living your core. Now, when you live your core values that way, and you see, we said family comes first over everything. So in my home, all right, in my home, you cannot put anything over family. So for instance, we have our family traditions. We have birthdays. We don't joke with birthdays. We don't have to throw a party. We don't have to do anything big, but we are together on a birthday. So my husband will shift a business trip to be at a birthday, except it is absolutely beyond him. Okay? Our children will have to say no to anything anywhere else. A birthday, a friend's birthday, a classmate's party, and everything. If it happens to fall on any of our birthdays, it's automatic. It's not going to happen. I will shift every engagement and everything that I have to do. Okay, if I have to be here on a child's birthday, I will tell you guys 2 weeks before that we have shifted the meeting for today to tomorrow, because family comes first over everything. So it's not just birthdays, it's all the things that we have placed in our home as our core, all the things that are part of our family tradition. Why is that? Because family is one of our core, and it comes first over everything. So the children know that they can take other people's side when they are together, no matter how wrong your sister is or your brother is. You can't take the other person's side. What you can do is simply, it's okay, I'm going to talk. Okay, that's okay, that's okay. Okay, let's leave it there. Okay, I'll talk to my sister, I'll talk to my brother. Something, but you cannot say, yes, it's true. Don't mind her. That's actually, they know. My children can't do that. Outside, they cannot pitch against each other. It's a no. Okay, it's a no. It doesn't mean that you corroborate with your brother and tell a lie, or your sister and tell a lie. You will look for the best way to sort the things out. But no, outside there, you can't pitch against your sibling. We don't pitch against each other ever, because this is core for us. So I hope this is enough example for you. So look and sit down and look at your core also, and let this be the reason for the things that you do. Another core that we have is actually tolerance. Okay, so we tolerate people. We do not have to be you. And why can we tolerate you? We tolerate you because we are not afraid. We are not shaking. We know who we are. We are not afraid, or we are content with who we are. We are happy with who we are. We are self-aware. So when people come who are different from us, we do not need to shake that they will alter who we are. We are who we are. So what do? We acknowledge that this is who you are, and it's okay that you are like that. Okay? Let our life, if our life impacts you enough, it will help you become a different person, or it will help you, probably, see what it is that we are and try to be like we are. But it doesn't matter who you are, religion, whatever. We just accept you the way you are. Now, do we have to be in your tribe? No, we don't have to be in your tribe. Do we have to put you in our face every time? No, we don't have to. If we don't share the same ideology, and we don't share the same, ideology, we don't share the same values and all of that. But do we have to discriminate you and make you feel like you are devil? No, we don't have any business with that. So we will be good acquaintances when we have to be together, or for any reason we have to, encounter each other. And the children know this. You don't have to. So our children understand their inner circle of friends, they understand their outer circle of friends, and they understand the people that they encounter, and it's beyond them, right? Whether to be in that encounter. For instance, your classmates, you can have a classmate that is a certain kind of person that's beyond you. You can't say, I won't be in this class because this person is like this, and you can't say, I'll make this place hell for the person because the person is here. So what do? You're cordial, you're kind, you're nice, you're all of that with that person, but that's all that it is. That's where it stops. Okay, so they understand this, so we tolerate each other. Now, how can your children, or how can you use this to help your children create boundaries? Okay, I'm going to give you 5 things. Okay, now, so number 1, you understand your core values. So what you want to do is make your children document your core values. Document your core values like what I just showed you now. Okay, have it written. Even the scripture says what? That we should write it out. Your vision, whatever it is, what you see, where you're going to, write it down, right? And so that anyone who sees it can run with it. So that's what we're doing here, is principle. Write it down and have it somewhere strategic. Your children, if you call my children to tell you, my children will tell you a set of values, our core, they will give you 10 of them. If they don't give it to you exactly the way it's written, they would have gone through it by the time they are done having a conversation with you, because they know. Why is this? Because this is something that we talk about every time. So that brings us to number 2. So number 1, write it down so that it is documented, and everyone who needs to know, everyone who needs to see it, everyone who needs it, everyone who needs to be a partaker of it understands it. We put it in a place where even if you're a visitor in our home, you can see. So that when I say to you, I'm not acceptable, it's not as if I am bias. It is what we stand for. It is written, documented, and I can just point you to it, and it holds. It's as simple as that. All right, the next thing you want to do, don't just write it and document it and have conversations about these things every time. Okay, find the teachable opportunities. Use it as a reference every time life happens. Okay, so for instance, yesterday, what were we talking about? We were talking about visibility. I was the one that was trying to tell my husband about how Belinda had that course out there, and how, from the course she was able to, she had 5,000, I mean, from what he was saying, 5,000 people already registered for the course and all of that. And he was trying to say, oh, social media sometimes can be this, and all of that. And I was talking about, no. There's something about visibility. There's something about numbers. There's something about all of that. And somehow Big Brother came into the whole thing, the whole conversation and all of that. And hey, it became a teachable opportunity for us to talk to our children about where you show up. What platform is for you, whether or not that platform is going to give you visibility. You should be able to identify what platform is for you and what platform is a no for you. Okay, now why do you need to do this? So I just gave you number 3, right? Number one, I said, what did I say? Number one, I said, talk about those values and all of that, write it down, and so that you have it as a family. Number 2, okay, you need to speak about this thing with your children, not just have it down, speak about it with your children every time, and use them to buttress, to expatiate, use them to deal with the everyday situations that happen in your life. Number 3, have your children talk to you about these things, okay, when your children come home with their challenges, okay, address their challenges from the place of your value. Address your challenges with your values. Use your values as the yardstick. Use your values as the standard for every time your children have challenges and you want to create or you want to find solutions, okay, to their challenges. So as a family, you need to learn to seek your solutions together. So that's why it's important that you have this line of communication open in your home. And that line is open as early as possible. As early as possible. Start having these conversations with your 2-month-old. Okay? Start having it with your 2-month-old. So let's pray. In this family, prayer comes first because God over everything. Okay, so let's pray. Little short prayer before we go and eat, because God is everything. God comes first. Oh, you're not feeling well. Have you talked to God about it? Let's pray to God about it. Let your children know that you have a God. Let them know where your source is, whatever that source is. Okay? Oh, you want something. Have you asked God about it first? Okay, let's ask God about it first. Point your children to God every time. Point them to God every time. Every time. What's your anchor for a lot of things? Go back to the scripture with them every time. Okay, go back to the scripture with them every time. So that's way you are establishing the fact that God over everything. All right. Then family. Eventually, family over everything. You will look for all the ways that you continue to establish this with your children, how family comes first over everything and all of that. So have that conversation. And so when they have conflict, I said, let your core values be your anchor, even for resolving the challenges and the issues that come up, in your everyday lives. So when your children have conflicts between themselves, okay, point them. You should have some strategy to help them resolve their conflicts. After everything, if you have to come in probably later, don't allow it go days. When they're done and all of that, if you have a conflict resolution template, you should have a conflict resolution template in your home. All right. For instance, for my children, if the remote control is an issue, what to watch and what not to watch, it's simple. We know that everybody, if you have to watch TV together, it's simple. Each person gets to play their program once, and hey, the oldest goes first. So there shouldn't be conflict now. So you come to me, oh, he has the remote control, and he doesn't want to and everything. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? I'm like, go, use the template and fix your problem. So they go there, okay, what time is it? He looks at the time, it's 2 o'clock. Okay, I'm going to watch from 2 to 3, and I go first. It's not because of that situation that I am putting this rule. This rule has been there before, okay, so that the younger knows to respect the older and all of that. There is a system already on ground. So that is it. You have something to help them resolve that conflict. Now, when they've resolved that conflict and everything, okay, you can actually come in later, sit down with them. Okay, so how did you guys come around with, that conflict you had? How did you resolve it? Oh, okay, this. I'm like, okay, more than that, at every point, I need you to ask your question. When you decide how you want to react, or when you decide how you want to react in a situation, ask yourself the question: what do I want in this home at this point? What is more important to me? Being right or being peaceful? Which one is more important to you? What are you doing? Does it put family first over everything? So I turn to my older. I'm like, does it put family? I mean, who should understand more at this point? I'm not saying that you shouldn't have you. I mean, who should understand first? Is there a way you can make your sister understand why you're acting the way you are acting? If there's anyone that should start the conflict resolution, if there's anyone that should set the stage, for resolution, it should be you. I'm not saying that you should have her way, because hey, they can be older siblings, doesn't mean that they should give their way every time to their younger sibling. But who is going to make her sit and understand where you're coming from? You have the power to make her sit and understand where you're coming from. And that is why the rules that we have set before are there to help you. All you need to do is point her back to what we agreed. So you see how these things that you have on ground come in to resolve issues, come in to solve the problems, come in to take care of the peace of your home without all the shouting and bickering and fighting and beating and yelling. What are your core values? Let it be the boundary, let it be the standard that your children have for the behavior and the choices that they make. Okay? Let it be that. Your children will get to a point where your children need to decide what to do. They are out there with their friends and they are faced with choices that are difficult. They are faced with choices that are difficult. For instance, oh, we have to go to a party. What does your core value say? What does your value say concerning these things? So for instance, we have a media plan in my home. Okay? We have a media plan. All of these things are tied to your core. So we have a media plan in my home, and that media plan takes care of what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, especially when it comes to them, friends and all of that. You cannot do sex conversation or relationship and making friends without media. It's all tied together. All of this is tied to media, basically. So how do your children attend parties or anything? They know in my home, you go nowhere until the parents of the child has reached out to us. So it's simple. When you say to my son that is 13, when you say to him, oh, I have I would like you to come and all of that, it's really very easy for him to make a decision. Has your mom called my mom? Period. Has your mom called my mom? Period. So that is it. It makes it easy for him to make the decision. Now we already have, a standard for where, even if you must have a sleepover, where it can happen. So our children know the kind of places where they can even have sleepover. We have agreed on the kind of people that you can have sleepovers with or anything like that, and how it goes. So it's simple. It's a party my classmate is having. Is a what do they call them? Is a pajamas, whatever they call them, and all of that. So what does it mean? A bunch of classmates are going to go to another classmate. They're going to be sleeping over. It's very easy for our son to make a decision on that. Oh, awesome! Sounds like a nice thing. And I'm not going to be able to make it. Why? Because our this says this. Period. He doesn't have to explain anything to anybody, but he knows. Okay. But he knows when it comes to relationship and it comes to dating, he's 13. We already have it established. And I said, not that daddy and I came and said, this is it. Take the card. This is what is acceptable or what is not acceptable. No, we sat down and we decided this. He sat down and he talked about it. We read books. About it. He understood what it is that we're talking about. He read. And that's why your children need to read books. How will your children read books if you do not introduce it as early as possible? So we have a book challenge that is starting tomorrow. Yes, we have a book challenge that is starting tomorrow. Guess what age that book challenge is for? It's for children between 0 and age 10. So you know that this is not just about reading books. This is about programming. This is about programming. This is about programming. This is about neural sculpturing. This is about neural sculpturing. This is about programming. I had someone put it. I've always called it programming. Okay, what you do from the beginning, what you introduce, what do you want to see in your children? How do you want children to act? How do you want? What things do you want your child? What habits do you want to see in your child? You would have to introduce that early in their lives, at the point where their brain is still forming. Their brain is still forming pathways, neural pathways. There's a lot of synapses happening in their brain at the time. The habits, the things that you introduce at that point and how consistent you are will help the brain circuit to recalibrate. And this is how foundations are created. And if you continuously repeat that skill, what happens? The pathway, the neural pathways, the neural connections become sharper, the pathways become more connected and become more, it becomes more fixed. That's where your children become experts in the things that they are doing. I have explained this many times in this analogy. I say when you are trying to go through a bush path for the first time, okay, when you walk through that bush path, nobody has gone that path. What happens? You will press down some of the grasses and some of the tall leaves, on that path. So you go through that path. You have created a path. Now that path is not fine. That path is not, the path is not clear. It's not fine. Now, if you have to go through that path every time, let's say you're going to your house in your village for the first time, or you're visiting an old building for the first time, and you want to come and probably do some work or renovate the place. So the first time you come and you walk past it with the workers, what happens? You create the pathway. So that's how the pathway is created in your child's brain the first time you take the child through that experience. Now, if you create more, if you come through that pathway the next day and the next day and the next day, you realize if you use that pathway consistently for 1 month, what happens? The grass on that pathway would die. Then they dry up. And before you know it, a path is created. The more you go through that path, the finer that path becomes. The more you walk through that path, the more distinct that path becomes. You'll find that at some point you don't have to struggle. You just walk through that path because there is a path that is already established. And so you become an expert in walking through that path. You don't have to struggle. You don't need a torchlight. You don't need to do like this anymore. You just walk through it because the path is now clear. So that's what's happening in your child's brain. And most of this happen easily in the first years of their life, or 6 years of their life. So when you can introduce reading or skills like that early during that period, and you repeat it over and over again, what happens? That pathway becomes established, and so that pathway becomes fine, and it becomes a permanent habit. It becomes, your child does not have to even blink for it to happen. It's easy. And so that's why he will read any kind of book that any kind of book that interests him, because he doesn't have a problem. No pictures, no nothing. Reading is nothing. It's easy peasy. It's that path. He's walked it over and over again. It has become second nature. It has become an enjoyable exercise. So yes, if you have children 0 to 10, rush now, this night, this evening, rush and register them for the program. At the end of this, okay, so I think we have this. Let me just share it here right away so that you can just take a screenshot of it. So the reading challenge is just 3,500 Naira. It's that cheap. Okay, you can also find it on the description when we're done here. I will just put it on the description. We didn't do that before. All right. So you can just take, it's right there on the bar right now. You can just take a screenshot and use the information to register. It's just 3,500 Naira today. The challenge begins tomorrow, and then it becomes 5,000 Naira from tomorrow. Yeah, From tomorrow, 12 p.m. tomorrow, it becomes 5,000 naira because we would have started the challenge. But it's more than just a challenge. It's more than just your regular challenge. It's a lot of activity because we understand that activity plus a sense of satisfaction is what leads to motivation, especially for young children. Even for you, you have an activity at the end. You can say, when I finish this activity, this is what I'm going to get. For instance, you're building a house. It's tough right now. You're spending money. But when you're done with the house, you have a picture, you have the prototype, you have the picture of what the house will look like at the end. Just looking at that beautiful prototype and all that you can visualize about the house, it's where your motivation is. So every time you're like, oh, it's tough, the money and all that, you just picture, oh, when I'm done, the way it will look, how I will so relax and chill in the house. That's the motivation. So that's what it is. So the activities that we use in that book challenge is the motivation for your child. Okay, the fun that comes with it, okay, is the motivation for the child to read. So we're trying to create a sense of satisfaction through the fun activity, and we're using that to motivate the child to read, especially for a child who doesn't like to read or a child who doesn't understand the importance of reading yet, especially for your young ones. So for your young ones, you want to make reading fun so that it's something that they look forward to. And so when we stay in there for a whole 30 days, we're hoping we would have gone through that path over and over and over and over and over again, and you have created the neural pathways that you need, and then you have created many synapses, and you have created, all of that, continuous, going through that path, and those neurons have connected. So reading becomes something that is cultivated in those 30 days. And after the 30 days, we will believe, we will trust, we will appeal to you to make it a culture in your home so that it is established. So we want to help you do the first phase of this because we understand how important it is. All right, I will have to stop here. Okay, so it's the same thing with everything. When your children have to make decisions about their friends, you just go back to your core values. What are your core values? Is this person hardworking? Like, it's part of our core. Is this person given to your service, or is the person that is constantly angry that they're asked to do anything in school? They say, come and be in this society, the person is upset. They say, come and do this, the person is upset. Someone needs help, the person is upset. You already know that, okay, this person and me now, we don't connect like that. At the point your children need to pick partners in their lives. They have your core, all your cores, and that's what they're looking in the next person, because we're looking for people who share about the same core values or something that resembles. Okay, we don't all have to be the same, but they share something that is similar with you. So you can see it's not one person that cannot tolerate the next person in his space. You already know that. So he has a problem with you leaving what you have. I mean, that you want to, you want to help out, volunteer here, volunteer there. He's always looking at you as I beg you, always do your seed. You're the one that wants to save the world. You already know that there will be a conflict because you don't share this core value with this person. Okay, it's a person that feels, God, the hype about God is just too much. I beg you, take this on your head too much and all of that. You already know who you are because of your core. Is a person that is there, his phone is ringing, his mother is calling him and he's speaking, Mommy, what is it? And leave me alone and everything. You already know that this person doesn't have respect for family. Family doesn't come first. So what are you doing with this person? So you see, parents, it's very easy for you to say to your child, really look at it. What do you share? What do you share? So it's not a case that they come, what church does he go to? Does he know God? Is he a child of God? Is he an usher? What's the duty? It's bigger than that. So now we stop asking children questions like, what job does he do? Where does he worship? That's all. What job does he do? What tribe is he from? What does he worship? Are these your core values? So if you realize, we'll find out that the things that a lot of our parents based what was accepted in our lives, or the kind of people they accepted to be in our lives, were not even things that were anywhere around our core values. Your core value is tribe. Is your core value tribe? Or is your core value what denomination? Or is your core? Do you understand? So why don't we have our core? Let our children understand our core. and let the core begin to be the standard and set the boundaries for what is acceptable, what they can bring home, what they can get into. And you realize when you have these core values, when it's established, when your children understand from the beginning, you won't need to argue about a lot of things. Even my 8-year-old makes decisions today based on our core values. My 8-year-old will make her decisions based on our core. She will tell you, mommy, it didn't sit well with my values, so I didn't do it. You understand? So it makes all those arguments, it takes it out of the way. It takes it out of the way, right? So for instance, I'm not going to argue. I'm not arguing. My son is almost 14. He's going to be 14 soon. We've never talked about a phone. A phone has never been an issue. Why? Because we had this conversation long time ago and we tied it to our core. We tied it to our core, basically. And so he understands why it's not a necessary item in his life today. Our phones good? Yes, they are good. He knows. But he understands it's not a necessary thing. My daughter was making her hair the other day, and she was it was painful and all of that, and all of that. She needed to entertain herself. And the person making her hair handed her her phone and all of that. She took it and she handed it. I can't look into your phone. I can't use your phone. Parents, get your core. Let your core become the basics. Did I say to her, you can't use phone? People don't know. We're saying to her, you don't understand. We have said you don't understand the next person's value, and you don't understand what is acceptable to the next person, and you don't understand what the next person puts on their phone or what is okay for them. So how about you now take their phone, and what is on their phone or what they allow in their phone does not align with your core values. How are you going to unsee, or how are you going to, So what is better? A better thing to do is what? Don't bother using other people's phone. Why? Because you don't know what their core is and what is okay for them, isn't it? There you go. All right. Thank you very much for being here today. I hope you got value from the session. If you would like to be a part of the book challenge that starts tomorrow, go ahead and use the information on the screen. Take a screenshot right now and use that information to register for the session, okay, to register for the challenge. It will be amazing. All right, let me see. Is there any question? Yes, you can. Okay, someone said, Coach, I would like to get that book, Bringing Up Boys. How do I get it? Okay, Bringing Up Boys, you can get if you're where are you? It depends on where you are. It's a book that you can see around, but my book plug is Witty Minds. I got that from Witty Mind. Witty Mind shop is in Abuja. Bookshop is in Abuja. All right. So are you on Facebook? If you can follow us if you're on Facebook, okay, look at my phone number right there. The phone number is right there. Take a screenshot and send me a message on the phone number. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. If you're watching this from Facebook, because if you're watching this from Facebook, okay, and redirected here, okay, this also, codes for you. Reach out to us if you would like to be a part of the book challenge. It will be on the description also. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic rest of the day and good night. Bye.